This is another episode of The Next Fix. We've got Kevin. We go way back to when he had cut my hair circa 2 months ago. And so he had shared with me that he was in recovery, doing well. He had quit using drugs. And so I said, hey man, come on The Next Fix to tell everybody what that looked like. And so I will say this, what I know about Kevin. He's full of energy and his brain is always working at 1,000,000 miles a minute, right? So he loves to talk about his ideas. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about his past, which I don't truly know. And I've encouraged him to share. And so, Kevin, I really appreciate your time, brother. I appreciate you making the decision to share. Come on The Next Fix to tell everybody. What I always want to know is, like, when did this shit hit the fan for you, man? When you were using, what did that look like?
I mean, which time? The shit first started to hit the fan when I was very young. I was probably 13. I tried, I think it was weed for the first time. That was decent for a few weeks. But my problem was like when I find something I like it a lot. So I don't have a great sense of moderation. So, I went from like smoking weed a few times a day to like all day, every day, like insanely fast, record time for a 13-year-old. And so it started to consume my life already. So I guess that was the first time the shit hit the fan in a minor way. It wasn't super crazy or extreme yet, but um my family found out and they, got real upset and there was a huge falling out and I ended up pushing back a lot and dropping out of high school and drinking around that time. So that was like when I was 15, I stopped going to school and started my career as a druggie. I was an antique dealer. I kind of grew up around this stuff and I kind of learned. So I, learned how to buy stuff from thrift stores and things. So I was kind of supporting myself and my habits through that. And then I got a cosmetology degree in my early 20s. And during hair school, that was a really heavy time of using for me. I had, I was diagnosed with depression, so they put me on uppers because when I was on the antidepressants, I was kind of like down. So they were like, well, you need a stimulant. And the stimulants gave me anxiety. So they were like, well, you need a benzo. So I got my, big three there. And
Right, right. The cocktail, like it's the classic cocktail of like, oh, well, you're a little too high. So we'll just give you this to like mellow you out. But now you're not quite right. So we're going to give you this other thing and that's going to make you just perfect.
that's right.
Now you mentioned your career, right? Your career as an addict, a drug addict. Would you say career, right? And now you've shared a little bit about this. What you're dealing, the drugs that you're using, that's also a classic model. Like I'll be able to use for free because I'll sell it, right? I mean, what did that look like for you?
So well, I really liked my medications that I was using, but I liked them too much, so I needed to use more. So I started buying other people's Adderall and stuff, but I didn't have a lot of money for that, so I needed to start funding myself. So I would order like just pure amphetamine sulfate paste and sell it to like college students and stuff. And that was a good fundraising tactic for a while.
What you say? Hold on a second, Kevin. What did you say? You'd buy? What was it, like a methamphetamine
It
paste?
was
And
just
then you were
it
like,
was a racemic mixture, so it had more levo than Adderall did. Adderall has more dextroamphetamine, so it was just stuff you got from China. It was dirty. It was not something that you wanted to do. But when I was in hair school, I got really into the drug scene, and I was just it was I had it in vials, and I was just in the bathroom snorting it to keep myself going because I was up for 3 days usually.
and that's why you were in hair school. I've known a lot of hairstylists that they party, man. It's a
Yeah.
circle of people. Yeah, they get down. And so you seem like a person who was like not just selling your everyday, quarter bags of funk. Like, I feel like you were like doing some deeper level research
Well, no,
in
these were
all of this,
college kids
right?
and stuff, and that was just when I was distributing the stuff that I was using for myself. I just would buy in bulk because it was so cheap, and then make back what I spent, and then some. But then, I mean, I got really into mushrooms and growing them, and I enjoyed that aspect. So that was another leg of the career. I started growing them from spores, and then I realized that if you had a really strong batch or whatever, you could take a section of each shroom and then clone a whole grow that was identical to that one. And so you could actually start making like kind of branded ones. So I would clone super powerful shrooms, and I had like we would label them, and like we had like art we would put on the bags. Like it was so that was part of the career as well. And during that time I got really arrogant and egotistical and aggressive with my tactics in handling business. I had some people that I was working with that were kind of working for me, and sometimes I was just putting people in situations that I didn't want to be in. So
Yeah.
I mean, I was
What would I mean, was it violence or what are we talking about?
no, just going into really shady places. I mean, it's just I mean, dealing is bad, but like it was a mess. I was a fucking nightmare. Like I'm not proud of who I was at all. I made some bad choices. They were completely selfish. I just wanted to grow up. I was just
Right.
fascinated by the
Right.
science. I just wanted to make the strongest mushrooms I could, and I was constantly expanding the operation, and just it was just entirely about refining the art for me. But I mean, I was overreaching everywhere else because I was obsessed with this one thing.
Right. Yeah. And so, well, what you've shared with me, and I agree with you, right? Moderation's like not in the cards. Like it's just not a thing. And you seem like the kind of guy when, as you have pointed out, right? You smoked weed one time. Next thing you know, you're smoking weed all day for days on end. And it seems like that's kind of that's how you operate. That's your normal, like you get something that you're into and it's just all that runs in your brain. Is that kind of how it goes?
I'm a natural addict. Yes, I'm a very obsessive person.
Right.
It can be fuel under the right circumstances for some truly wonderful projects, but it can also be fuel for self-destruction and spiraling.
So you're dealing drugs, you're using drugs, you're hyper creative on how you attain them, import export operations, and you've got like other people involved in this kind of a thing. Well, what did rock bottom look like for you, or what was like maybe the turning point for when you made a decision to like do something about this situation?
Well, I mean, some of the people that were involved in my life were getting hurt due to some of my actions. When you're living selfishly like that and making huge risks every single day, there's damage that happens. I'm a softy underneath everything. Like I have a big bleeding heart, so I don't have a huge tolerance for that. So I kind of my rock bottom was a few different situations that I don't want to get into great detail on here, but the psychosis when the psychosis really took over and I lost complete touch with reality for probably a good year and a half, just full delusions. I was like, I'm surprised I didn't kill anybody. I mean, I one time I kept hearing people on the roof. This was when I was doing meth, like insane amounts, just injecting like my dealer was scared of me, like because of the doses. Like I just I would put myself into these states of delirium where I would just convince myself that reality was different. And I mean, I still struggle with certain aspects. I think when you go into psychosis that deeply, that many times, and then I guess what you'd call a psychonaut too, right? Like I was really interested in the psychedelic exploration, doing the different chemicals, like, the normal ones like acid and shrooms and mescaline and DMT. Then I would like branch off into like N bomb and 2CB and like all the like weird like kind of uh research chemicals, and some of
So
them
is there is there anything that you haven't done as far as drugs? Or I mean, clearly psychedelics are kind of your thing, mind altering things. Is there anything else like, or were there some things you were just like, no
I
way?
never had a habit for coke. I've tried everything I heard except what was that crocodile one that rots people's skin. I didn't do that one. But like any weird thing that I heard about, I would order.
So what if would you research like before
But yeah,
you did
rigorously.
anything?
I
Like
was
you would
fascinated. I wanted to know the mechanisms, you know, what receptors it was working on, what the history was, how it was synthesized, like why it's banned usually, what the health risks are. I mean, if something was going to kill me, I wouldn't do it. I would be more cautious, but I I'm
Right,
here.
right. Yeah, it's a blessing that you are, brother, and I can't believe when I've learned some parts of your story. I mean, any single part of that story could have killed you,
I killed
but here
myself in
you
August.
are.
I took my own life.
That's right, you did say that, right? And then so what was that again? I believe you took so much kratom? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Or was it
my fiance had just passed away, and she had been having seizures for a few months or years, but it got real bad for the last few months. She just had one, a really bad one, and she didn't come back from it. And so I, you know, tried everything. And then I called 911 because she wasn't breathing and the heart stopped. And they told me to do CPR. I did all the stuff. Wasn't coming back. I realized that after a little while. And I went and I took basically a full bag of kratom. And I, so they were there doing the body thing. I was dealing. My family showed up and they were talking. I don't remember much of any of what happened because I died. Well, I guess while I was talking to them, I started throwing up, and then I had a seizure and went into cardiac arrest. But the paramedics were there, right there, picking up Alicia's body. So when I went into cardiac arrest, I was dead. They said I forget what they said. It was over 2 minutes, I think. I I need to get the
Yeah.
exact numbers, but I don't remember what happened when I died. Like, I don't remember the week after, and I remember like fuzzy bits, but when I came back, I was unconscious for like several days. And when I came back, I didn't have memories of anything. And my family was there. I didn't know who they were. Slowly over time, that basic stuff started coming back to me. I didn't know
Now,
Alicia had
were you
died.
on anything else? I mean, I don't know what
No,
it looked like up
I
until
had
that
brain
moment.
death for several minutes. I mean, they said it was a miracle I woke back up. They were pretty sure I was going to stay in a coma. It was,
Yeah.
you know, they said I was right on the cusp of whatever my cutoff time. It was like if I had been, you know, like dead a little bit longer, I would have been a vegetable. So, I mean, the memory problems are, I mean, they said that hopefully they'll get better in time. I'm, you know, having like some therapy and stuff like to work on some exercises and just habits.
Has it, do you feel like your cognition is still altered?
Yes. Yeah, the way I think shifted pretty significantly afterwards. I think that I carried a lot of maybe guilt and shame about my past, and I forgot most of my past, so maybe that's gone, but my perception has shifted pretty significantly. Um and my behavior has. I mean, people around me have been commenting, but it's hard to tell. I do think that the death and potential brain damage had some factor in it. I also think that you know, I'm going through a lot of grief right now. I mean, my life
Yeah.
was uprooted. I lost the apartment. It was in her name. I got evicted. So I mean, I'm staying with my mom's boyfriend right now. I am.
Yeah.
So when your whole life shifts, and then you have another like, you know, possible clinical reason for the shift in behavior, it's kind of hard to pinpoint the source.
Right. It's, like, hard to and that was, like, what I had mentioned to you is that, once upon a time, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. However, the diagnosis was based upon my behavior while I was wrecked. I mean, I'm, like, high as a kite, and they're trying to diagnose me. So it's like, what really was going on? Did I have schizophrenia, or was that a product of my behavior and drug use? And so, eventually I shook that diagnosis. I mean, but looking back, it's so hard to really tell, like, what exactly is the catalyst of your behavior change. And so that's an incredibly observant, like, comment on your end, right? Like, you're aware, right? There's a couple of things going on here, and you're not sure which one it is. But let me ask you, you started stacking some a recovery journey. You started stacking some sober days together. And I guess what did that transition look like for you into like was there a time when you made a decision and you're like no more, or was it like were you trying to get
Well,
sober and you kind of, you know,
I mean, sobriety is, I mean, a spectrum, I guess, because like what what somebody who smokes weed and goes into an AA room, like I think that there are states where you can be diagnosed marijuana for anxiety and be taking it and be sober. So, I mean, when did I turn sober? When Lush passed away and then I overdosed on kratom. There was some kratom left in the house. And I was still doing it for a little while. It kind of helped. I thought it helped numb the pain. It didn't. It just had me hungry for something several times a day that I was fiending for. It gave me constipation, and it didn't really have any beneficial effects. So I did have a sober date where I put that down and picked up a white chip. I still will hit a weed pen sometimes, and I can live with that. So
yeah,
I feel like I catch a lot of judgment on like my level of sobriety in the rooms of AA. Like it's a wonderful environment with a lot of good knowledge and a lot of great culture usually, but there also is a element of like kind of elitism and exclusion and snobbery and kind of like, you know, judgment on people's ways of life without knowing the entire picture. And
sure.
so I
Are you in the rooms now? Or do you
oh
go to
yeah, I go
AA
every
or
day. Yeah, I go
oh what?
usually. Yeah, I mean, I've been super active in the rooms because I cut my work schedule down to 2 days a week. I've been having a hard time cutting hair because of the, when I had the brain death, I had some of my motor functions are a little bit more challenging now. I, hair cutting is a challenge, so I still enjoy doing it. I wanna see my regulars, but I'm just doing it on the weekends now, and then during the week, I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay, well, you're in the rooms every day, but I hear you on that, like, the judgment thing and sometimes, you know, but I'm really grateful that you're extracting a positive, you know, a positive element, right? And, you know, it's playing a part in you maintaining your sobriety, and if you know, when I have these conversations about sobriety, you know, you're right. You're 100% right that it's a spectrum. And that spectrum is unique for every single person. But what I've learned is like, if your life was a shit show and then you got rid of some kind of substances and a lifestyle that was making it a shit show, then I say that that is a recovery journey. Now, sobriety could be argued one way or the other, but I'm glad that you have made the decision on, you know, removing some of those things that were
Yeah,
really
I
making you a
mean,
mess. Right.
like, the alcohol, like, the things that were ruining my life, even the kratom, like anything that had an adverse impact on my day-to-day life, like that's when it's because I don't think that anybody taking any substance ever is a crime. Like a lot of people do stuff regularly, healthfully, like, and that's, you know, their character type, like their mentality, they can do that. I have no problem with people doing shit. And like, so like, I forgot what I was going with that, but
That's all right. That's all right, man. Well, I hear you that you're tolerant, right? You're tolerant of like however another person's journey looks like, and I think that that's important.
I only think it
However, you
becomes a
know, there's
problem when it's fucking your life.
right. Yeah. And there's a ton of people out there, man, that like for whatever reason they've decided their way is the only way. And you know, I love people too much to really try to tear them down over like one element of a belief that I have, whether it be religion or sobriety, official sobriety, whatever that may be, right? Just these things are too subjective to really cast stones about, in my opinion. That's why I don't like to really tear anybody up. And I just had a conversation about somebody who is they're off heroin, but they're still on Suboxone, right? There's probably people out there that would be like, oh, well, you know, you're not sober. And it's like,
I
yeah,
still
but
have
their
some
life
plums
is
left
like way
upstairs.
better.
I was using them to help me get off kratom.
Dude, yeah, man, you're just you're a trip, bro. Your brain just, like, runs a zillion places, man. Now I will say this out loud, right, because I've noticed it. Is that you have an ability, right, to really dig into things, right? You and yeah, you overthink, but I think that's a gift. And I think that, it's when used constructively, and of course your challenge is going to be to try to keep you focused on one thing long enough, right? But I think it's a better way to be, right? Than like just some flatline person with no energy or no passion about things. And so,
Mania is
that being
excellent
said,
fuel.
man, and so I'm super proud of you for like going to, I made it to like 3 AA meetings and it wasn't my thing. I couldn't deal with it.
It's a
So I
little
applaud
tedious
you. I'm like,
sometimes.
yeah, every day. I get it. Do you think that it's imperative for you to go every day?
No, not at this point, but it's imperative for me to build a community.
That's pretty cool, man. And all of that being said, because I know a little bit about some of your passions and things, and so I'm dying to know. Like, I know when we had met, you've got this passion project, and you're spitting it out at me like at a million miles a minute. So it's dragging for it, right? When you talk about building a community, and I know you had like wild ideas. And so I want you to kind of share like where is all of this Kevin energy? Where are you pointing and directing and aiming it at these days?
Okay, so this is gonna come in a few parts. Alright, when I was engaged to this wonderful woman, Alicia Mae Blakeman, who passed away in August, and we had a playlist. We met in our teens, and we had a beautiful night on the beach early on where we were listening to a playlist. We kept adding songs to it. It was a really good night. We were partying, and we didn't want the night to end. The sun started to come up, so we agreed on the beach we were gonna keep that playlist going forever. It was called Dragon Force. So, we both had access to it, and we both kept updating it over time. And you know, we would fight and break up a lot. We were both very spicy people who were very strong-willed, who were very passionate, who also loved each other, but, because we loved each other, we would take, like, any small thing as, like, a huge slight. So, like, it's like, "Does she not love me?" Then I would react, like, and then she would react, and it would escalate. So we would stop talking, like, a lot or break up a lot, and during those times when we weren't communicating, we would communicate instead through the playlist because we still wanted to communicate, we just didn't wanna communicate with words because we were scared we were gonna fight. So that was kind of how music became our language. We would talk through songs, and when we started living together, we had these traditions where we would like collect these mystery box figurines and open them up, and we would make up like stories, and then like have them interact with each other and put them out in the dioramas and stuff. And then we were fighting. A lot of our traditions came from resolving our fight. We would set up little dioramas and
Right.
have our little figurines that we had stories about. Like, we would have them battle it out. So we would kind of resolve our conflict, like peacefully, but like still, make our jabs. And then,
Well,
so that was,
it's creative.
yeah,
That's a creative way to do it, man. I mean, say what you will, for you to see that that's how you are finding a solution to like an altercation, man. I mean, I can't imagine that's a pretty healthy way to do it and creative, right? But yeah, go ahead. Right, there's this playlist. Now and okay, and she had passed, and so I know that was a really big dent in you, man. Every time you bring it up, I could see how much it kills you. But so the playlist was how you and her were able to communicate when actual words weren't working for you. So do you still have it going?
yeah, I still add to it sometimes. She left a few other playlists that I will listen to, and I'll pull songs from them and add them to Dragonport, or if I discover new artists that I enjoy, I like to add, just new media as well as, some stuff that she had left behind. Because I kind of consider her the co-author of Dragonport, like the project that I'm working on. I mean, it was all our tradition.
Yeah. And so that one of those traditions is the kind of like the hiding of the artifacts, right? And like
Yeah, so I am.
And I know you had some big ideas. You were like gonna
Yeah.
put stuff all over the city.
I'm already talking to a few local businesses, but I won't name names yet because they haven't like officially confirmed. I have to get the website running first. But I have a huge collection of antiques, and Lucia and I worked on that too. We would kind of combine our figurines with them in some of our dioramas. So I'm really fascinated with history, and I like to share it. So what I like to do is I'll take some of my antique collection and bring them to a local business. Then I'll have a series of clues that I will leave for people to figure out, and then eventually it will lead you to a prize. And that prize will be at varying locations at varying times. And then there will be certain businesses where you can go, and if you say a code word, you'll get a prize every time you go there. So it's about distributing my collection of antiques throughout the city, hoping that whoever ends up with them look up what they are and learn the history behind them. And then that's the early phases. Eventually, when I have some funding, I would like to do a digital scan of the items and then actually have when you, well, I'm not going to get too deep into the NFT aspect of
What's
things, but
like like a digital, like an NFT of them or something like that?
okay, so like there's so many like deep fakes and shit right now. Like there's a lot of problems with AI swap. So actual physical items, especially with ones with like interesting history, like they have additional value on top of just their traditional historical value because you can do a digital scan of it, do add it to some kind of archive, like in the Dragon Vault. I would like to have Dragon Fort be real estate in the magical realm of Hyperborea eventually, where you can whatever relic you end up with, you'll actually be able to scan it into the world as an avatar. But like that's so far down the line. Like I don't have the technical capabilities or the funding yet. So for now,
Right,
they're
right.
just antiques. But I'm trying not to burn too much of the collection to fundraise because I that's a really fucking cool idea for what I can do with these.
Yeah, and I mean, it's out there. It's aggressive as far as the technology is concerned, but
No,
yeah,
not really.
I like where you said.
It's no, it's already the technology's there. I don't have access to the people who can pull it off because I'm a fucking nobody.
Well, we gotta change that, brother, and so I wanna do whatever I can to get this idea so people can hear not just about Dragonfort, but also the fact that you've put your life together where it coulda went the other way on you pretty easily, man. I mean,
It could have.
you're importing weird, subcategory narcotics from China. I don't know, man. The fact that I'm talking to you right now
And the
seems like
Netherlands,
a
that was a
miracle.
huge distributor for that.
Well, listen, man, I will give you my word, man. I will play
Can I
a
mention one more thing?
yeah, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so during the pandemic, I feel like society took a very weird shift. There was a culture where people were freaking out, turning on each other, and masks became political. And I thought that the whole absurdity was like pretty wild. So I started collecting COVID masks. So I have like well over 100 ridiculous COVID masks. And I think that, I'm pretty prone to slip into delusional headspaces. So what I want to do is have a series of videos where I'm wearing different COVID masks and exploring semi-delusional headspaces. Because we were all delusional for a little bit there during COVID, or most of us were. I was. And so I
Most
want to celebrate that with my mask. So get to see the collection.
So, let me ask you, man, right? So, you're gonna wear COVID like, creative COVID
Oh
masks,
yeah,
and
so
then you're
each one
gonna
will be a
record.
character, right? So like this is my flush persona. This one will be my well, my character. I don't know, man. I got my Pikachu one. I have the sex store one is gonna be for what I'm talking about, like politics. Y'all beautiful. The lot anime one.
Right.
Anyway, we
Well,
don't
hey,
have to go
man.
through those.
Hey, listen,
All right. Yeah.
that's an additional project, man. You've got a lot on your hands, but most importantly, man, I'm glad you managed to stick around, um, meaning, like, you're still alive, you're still kicking, you got a glorious brain in there. It might be a little unique. I'm saying that I'm very thankful that you chose to stick around here, right? Because it could have easily gone the other way. And so here's your very unique and gifted mind, and I'm happy that you're still able to make this happen, right? And you're doing it in your own way. You've got your own incredibly unique recovery journey. You've shared it here. And so you've got a million ideas, adventures locked and loaded. And so, hey man, I want you to keep it up. And I I will do my best to get some eyeballs on your projects, brother. All right.
And
And so
this
do you have any
I'm also getting into politics. That is my final announcement, and this is heavily involved.
that's your final announcement?
Final
Now, you know
announcement.
what? I want
Okay.
one more announcement. I want you to share a bit, like a nugget, like a little nugget of advice or wisdom out of Kevin's mind into the minds of anybody that may be just starting a recovery journey.
Sometimes it's easy to allow the opinions of others to bring you down. It's easy to feel a little bit outcast, so then you kind of put yourself outside of things more, and then people look at you different, and then you just can end up putting yourself inside of a bubble if you don't engage with people regularly. I'm prone to isolate, and when I isolate, I tend to be more inclined to use because my head can be a terrible place, and I need other people to remind me that it's not all that's going on in this world. So, even especially when you want to isolate,
Yeah. Hey man, that's really helpful, because it could happen to any of us that you just you hide one day or you choose not to pick up the phone and then it just turns into never picking up the phone, hiding from everybody, and then that's a dangerous place, man. It really is. Well, listen, I appreciate that wisdom. I appreciate your creative mind, man, and so, yeah, that's been another episode of The Next Fix, guys. See you on the next one.
thanks, Ryan.